First story, Shadows of Crescent Ridge. I never believed in haunted towns, cursed land, or anything that couldn't be explained by logic. That changed the day I set foot in Crescent Ridge, California, a tiny, forgotten town buried deep in the hills northeast of Sacramento. I arrived on a Thursday evening in late October. The sky had that strange orange tint, like it wasn't sure whether it wanted to be day or night. I was following a lead on a freelance writing assignment: uncover America's lost towns. Crescent Ridge hadn't been on any maps since the early 60s. No working roads led in anymore, only dirt trails carved by off-roaders and the occasional hunter. My GPS blinked out 3 miles from the site, so I followed an old railway line on foot, dragging my gear behind me. The first thing I noticed was the silence. No birds, no wind, no bugs. Just an eerie quiet so heavy it pressed against my eardrums. Then I saw it. Faded wooden signs, a collapsed gas station, and a single rusting church steeple stabbing the sky. The town was real. I set up camp inside an old general store. Dust layered everything like snow, and the air smelled like dry rot and engine oil. I found a journal behind the counter. The last entry was dated March 14th, 1963. It ended with, "They're in the walls now. We can't leave. We can't even scream anymore." That night, I didn't sleep. Sometime around midnight, I heard scratching. At first, I thought it was a raccoon or maybe wind brushing debris, but it was rhythmic, deliberate, something scratching from inside the walls. I pressed my ear to the floorboards. I wish I hadn't. There were voices underneath the house, whispers. They weren't speaking English. They weren't speaking anything. Just breathy clicks and muttering like insects learning to speak. I got up and bolted the door, heart pounding. When I turned, someone was standing in the middle of the room. Not someone, something. It was tall, thin, and shadow-like, its edges constantly shifting like smoke caught in water. I couldn't see a face, just darkness. I couldn't move. It leaned closer. Then I blinked, and it was gone. The next morning, I tried to leave. I followed the same trail back, but after an hour of hiking, I ended up back at the general store. I walked straight for another 2 hours. Same result. I was trapped. That night, I explored deeper into the town. There was a schoolhouse half sunk into the earth. Inside, desks were still arranged as if class was in session. A child's drawing was pinned to the blackboard. It showed black stick figures crawling from the ground, surrounding the town, their mouths wide open. One of them was holding a clock. Midnight. I stumbled out, sick to my stomach. The sun was gone again. Crescent Ridge turned darker at night, not just absence of light dark, but suffocating, blinding dark. I tried calling out. I screamed for help. My voice sounded like it was being absorbed into the air. No echo, just dead silence. Back at the store, I found my journal pages rewritten, not in my handwriting. Same date, same words. "They're in the walls now. We can't leave. We can't even scream anymore." I didn't write that. The scratching came back, louder this time. It wasn't just one wall, it was all of them. I ran outside. The whole town was alive. Buildings shifted like they were breathing. Street lamps flickered though there hadn't been power in decades. And then I saw them. Dozens of shadow things like the one from the night before. They stood in silence, all facing me. Behind them, a giant hole had opened in the ground, and from it came the sound. Not screams, swallowing, like the earth itself was drinking the town. I turned and ran into the church. I locked the doors behind me and climbed the tower. It's where I'm writing this now. The town's almost gone. Buildings swallowed, street signs gone. I don't know how long I've been here. My watch stopped ticking. The sun never rises. My phone only shows one word on the screen now: stay. They're scratching beneath the bell tower now. I can hear them climbing. If you find this, don't come looking for Crescent Ridge. It finds you. Second story, Ashes of Palo Mesa. It started with a siren, not the kind that warns you of weather or war, but something deeper, more primal. A howl across the hills that shook me from sleep at exactly 3:33 a.m. I checked twice. My old analog clock ticked in defiance, unmoved by static or glitch. The red hands glowed, frozen like a bad omen. I had only been in Palo Mesa for a week, a forgotten town tucked somewhere between the edge of San Bernardino and the sunburnt desert. My cousin, Clay, left me the house after his suicide last fall. No note. No funeral, just a signature on an envelope and the keys wrapped in a photo. Him, standing on the front porch, face barely visible under the heavy Californian sun. Everyone in town acted like he never existed. Clay? The old gas station clerk squinted when I asked. Don't know a Clay. Strange, considering his family had lived here for 3 generations. I moved in anyway. Maybe I shouldn't have. The house was wrong in ways that didn't make sense. Doors that swelled shut in dry heat, outlets that sparked with no power. At night, the walls creaked as if breathing, slow and shallow. But I stayed, determined to make sense of Clay's death and the silence that followed it. The siren wailed again on the second night, louder, closer. I stepped outside with a flashlight. The hills rolled dark under the sky and nothing moved, not even wind. But in the distance, just beyond the tree line, something blinked. Red, then white, almost like a signal. I followed it. The trail wasn't marked, but my feet seemed to know where to go. The deeper I went, the less sound existed. No crickets, no distant hum of power lines, just the crunch of dead leaves in my breath. Then I found it, an opening in the ground, wide enough for a man to crawl through. Inside, carved into the walls, were symbols, burnt into stone, bleeding with what looked like fresh tar. I shined my light on one, a man with no face, arms outstretched, flames rising from his feet. A sound behind me. I turned, fast, nothing. But when I turned back, the symbols had changed. Now the faceless man was pointing, directly at me. I ran. The siren followed, louder, almost inside my skull now. I fell twice on the trail, dirt filling my mouth. When I burst back into the yard, the front door slammed shut on its own. I didn't sleep. The next morning, my phone was filled with pictures, dozens, all of them of me, sleeping. Different angles, some from above the bed, some from the corner of the ceiling. I live alone. The sheriff didn't care. He told me Palo Mesa had its own way of doing things. He told me to leave if I didn't like it. So I stayed, because I had to know. Night 4, I bolted the doors, sealed the windows, and sat with my grandfather's shotgun. The siren came again. This time, it didn't wait. The lights burst in the hallway. Then a shadow, long and twisted, crawled from beneath the guest room door. I fired. Nothing. The shadow kept coming, stretching across the ceiling like smoke. I ran to the basement. That's when I saw it. Clay. His eyes were sewn shut, lips stapled. He stood in the corner, arms limp at his sides, shaking. I tried to speak. He raised a finger, shushed me, then pointed to the furnace. It was on, burning hot, but no gas lines had been connected yet. Inside the flame, something moved. Hands, dozens, pushed against the glass, clawing, scraping. I turned off the power. The flame didn't go out. Clay whispered. No sound, but I could read his lips. She's still in the fire. I ran, out the front door, into the trees, anywhere but there. But Palo Mesa doesn't let you leave. I've tried. Every road leads back. Even when I turn the car around, I end up on Sycamore Drive, staring at my own mailbox. The house is changing now. Clay is gone, or maybe he never left. Sometimes I hear him crying in the attic. Other nights, it's laughter. But the worst is the girl. She stands just outside my bedroom window at 3:33 a.m. every night. Hair black and wet, eyes full of ash, skin like wax. She knocks once, just once. If I open the window, I know what'll happen. She'll crawl in, and this place, this whole rotting town, will burn again. Just like before. The sirens are closer now. And tonight, I think I might answer the knock. Third story. The hollow lights of Devil's Spine. I never thought I'd return to Devil's Spine, not after what happened to my brother. But grief does strange things to people, and curiosity, well, that can be worse than grief. It started with a voicemail, an old one. I found it on my brother Jacob's cracked burner phone while packing up his stuff in Santa Rosa. He disappeared a year ago near a desert ridge south of Barstow, California. Everyone said he probably overdosed or just wandered off, but I never bought that. The voicemail was distorted, filled with static, but I could make out a few words. They're watching. Lights. Under the ridge. Don't follow them. The phone's GPS history showed his last stop was near a lonely desert stretch known as Devil's Spine. Locals said weird stuff happened out there. Lights in the sky, animals acting strange, people hearing whispers in the sand. I packed my gear and drove out there. It took 6 hours from Santa Rosa. The desert air was dry and heavy, and the only sign of life was an old gas station in the town of Lucerne Valley. The guy behind the counter stared at me too long when I asked about Devil's Spine. "People don't come back from there," he said. "Not the same, anyway." I laughed it off. I shouldn't have. By dusk, I reached the base of the ridge. The rocks looked like twisted vertebrae climbing into the dusk sky, hence the name, I guess. I set up camp and waited. At midnight, the lights came. Not headlights, not stars. These were floating, pulsing orbs, silent, moving in synchronized patterns above the ridge. I grabbed my flashlight and camera and started climbing. Halfway up, I found a trail of cigarette butts. My brother's brand, crushed into the sand like breadcrumbs. Then I heard whispering. It was faint, like wind through dead leaves, but the words were clear. "Jacob, come see, come join." I froze. My flashlight flickered, then died. Total darkness. Then, one by one, the orbs lowered. Slowly, silently. I ducked behind a boulder and held my breath. One of the lights stopped 10 feet from me. I swear it was looking at me. It didn't have eyes, but I felt it watching. Then it made a low hum, like 1,000 voices humming in unison. I bolted. I don't remember getting down the ridge. I woke up in my car with the engine running and blood on my hands. Not mine. I checked the footage, all static, every file. But the voicemail had changed. Same timestamp, same file. But now it said, "You saw them. Now they see you, run." The next night, I started hearing footsteps outside my apartment in Santa Rosa. Every night at the same time, 3:07 a.m. I called the police. They found nothing. Then I noticed things moving. My toothbrush always wet. My fridge slightly open. My dog won't go near the windows. And last night, I saw one of the lights. In my hallway, it hovered just above the floor, humming softly. I haven't left my apartment since. But the voicemail changed again, just once. "You brought them with you." I didn't go to Devil's Spine to find my brother. I went there to follow him, and now I know why he never came back. Neither will I.